Okay.
the button.
Oh, that works.
No, no, that button will, it better work. And you are?
He is Brian Griffith. He is the project manager for the contractor, and he's really going to be doing most of the talking because they're the ones building the job.
Oh, okay, we'll get going here.
There's a
Then
bottle of
I'll take
water on
that.
the podium there for you.
Tell me when you're ready.
Yep.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone out to our county work meeting this afternoon. We've asked UDOT to come in and basically do a presentation update for us. I do know that the cities have been invited to be online, so I'm sure there's a number of people that are watching this. I think everyone knows Mike Romero, probably one of the nicest guys ever, and hopefully he'll tell us everything that we want to know at this point in time. Usually, Mike, when we're presenting, we'll take our mask off if you want to, but other than that, we all do wear our masks on that. So with that, I'll turn that over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevenson. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. See if we can get the presentation up and going. So we're here to talk about the US 89 project and the work we've really completed in the last year. So, towards you. Am I hitting the wrong button?
Okay, I'll just watch it.
Okay, so as part of the Highway 89 project, one of the things that we really wanted to do because of the corridor that we're working is we really wanted to go in and establish a culture amongst the project team. And part of the way that we do that is through our core values. And so I'm going to start off here with, these are UDOT's core values: trust, safety, fiscal responsibility, passion, dedication, and public responsiveness. And these are what really used to guide us when we're out working amongst the public. And as part of all of our project meetings, we start off with a core value moment. I'd like to do that here today as well. And the one I want to choose today is dedication. So for all the residents that live here in Davis County, you notice we kind of had a little bit of a windstorm last night. In preparation for that, our contractors had safety meetings yesterday afternoon, looking at the weather, looking at the forecast, and looking at what could be anticipated from a weather event and what impacts this has on the project. And about 2 o'clock, 2:30 this morning, the contractor got a phone call from the county sheriff's office saying, hey, the winds are starting to pick up, your signs are starting to move. And they were on top of it like that. Through proper planning, through proper dedication, we had people out on the job at 2:45 this morning, picking up signs, making sure that the corridor was safe for the travelers getting to and from work in the morning. Because at that time of night, it's pretty dark, and if something's blown over in the road, you're not going to be able to see it. You could hit it. There could be a crash. And so through their dedication and through their planning, they were able to get out there and make sure that the roadway was safe for the public to travel through and get to work in the morning. And so I will turn the time over to Brian Griffith. He is the project manager for Oak Hills Constructors, and he will walk you through the construction progress that we've had this last year, and as well as what we get to see this next upcoming construction season.
The first little focus here is a lot of numbers. We've been very lucky with weather. It's been a dry fall and dry winter so far, so we've made a lot of progress. The big thing, storm drain on the project is 30% complete. Third-party utilities, the Rocky Mountains, Comcast, CenturyLinks, they're about 42% complete. And then our wet utilities, our water lines, Weber Basin, municipalities, and sewer lines are about 40% complete. The overall project's probably closer to 30, but we needed to get those third parties done to finish the roadway. So some of the big numbers we have, 500,000 cubic yards of excavation, earth moved, and then that same 500,000 yards went into an embankment somewhere else. 50,000 tons of permanent asphalt was placed this year. A lot of that was in November. Just to make sure the quality is up to par, we've taken 16,000 density tests, 400 proctors. We've had over 4,000 inspection reports filed. And since inception, when we brought the design team on, we've got over 800,000 working hours on the project. We just got the girder set at Oak and 400 North in the last few weeks. So you're seeing major progress out there. Can you move forward? By phases, we have a couple of utilities, just how much we've done. Weaver Basin, it serves about 140,000 residents. And to date, we've completed 10,000 feet of that pipe, about 2 miles of different sizes in welded steel and ductile iron. We still have about 3,000 feet to go. That should take us through the spring and into early summer. Go ahead and go. For Layton City had quite a bit of new water, 20,000 feet to date. We've got also about 3,000 feet of sewer line connected for Layton City. Kaysville City, almost 12,000 feet of water line. Central Davis, that runs through a few of the municipalities, about 2,500. Fruit Heights, we've got 3,600 feet, around 400 north that we've got to get in. And we completed about 3,000 feet of Hates Creek irrigation line. We can go ahead and go to the next. CenturyLink, we've relocated facilities that have affected 5,000 homes. I want to say there's close to 7 miles of CenturyLink that's been completed to date. There's been some upgrades in the high-speed internet at Oak Hills, and some future expansion down Oak Hills towards the Temple area. The big part for us and for all the residents in Davis County was just getting the pavement in for this year. We had hoped to get about 40,000 tons complete. We actually exceeded that by 10,000 tons. Quite a bit of the East Frontage Road is done. We got some of the West Frontage Road done, and we continued to work there. The point of that last slide, we were able to work with UDOT and look at the temperature specification that they have to control quality. We made some modifications to our asphalt mix that allowed us to pave a little later, and we still hit 100% quality paving late into the year. So this is our 400 North, 200 interchange. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. We've switched over to the east side of that roadway, working on milling. That pretty well finished up last week. There's major earthwork operations going on for probably the next 3 months there as we continue to contour that. The girders got set a few weeks ago. We'll continue to place the deck on there, the rebar, and get ready for concrete. We expect that sometime this summer to open up. One of the things that people don't see is we've been doing some modifications to the Bear Creek box structure. We've lined that to continue Bear Creek flowing through that. And we've also added or started work on the first of the pedestrian culverts on the project. So that's off to the west side of the road. You'll see some piles sticking up next to the road. There's about a 30-foot vertical cut there where we're starting to work on that box. The West Frontage Road, there's still utilities and a few detention ponds to clean up there. Gordon Avenue, a lot of utility work in this area, as well as a large cast-in-place wall on the east side that we're starting. That's going to take us 3 or 4 months just to do that wall. And then everything else besides that, this is also a midsummer completion date for Gordon. What a lot of residents don't see is the Gordon extension. There's about 1.5 miles of new roadway from the future Gordon interchange out to the west to connect Layton City. That is in its final stages of preparation, and that'll be ready to be paved by spring. So that's going to be a huge benefit. We can go to the next one. Oak Hills, this was kind of our biggest cluster on the job with multiple utilities, easements, you name it, going through here. It was also the home of the Layton City water tank that we were able to move out of the way this fall in October. Same thing, we got the girders set over where 89 traffic is right now. We're starting to work on the east side abutment and doing our excavation there. This will follow about the same time path as midsummer. We're hoping to complete this and have that interchange fully functional. Lots of utilities still going through there. You can go ahead and go to the next. Thank you. Antelope Drive, we're starting to branch out to get some of our utilities done. We've got borings going across the road at Antelope Drive. Trying to get in our Weber Basin water line on the west frontage road, so trying to stay ahead of the road work there. That's going to be going on for the next 6 to 8 months through Antelope. The big part of our project, since this is a little bit of a new audience, is the first 3 interchanges we work on, we had to have functionally complete and provide access so we can work on the next 3 intersections or grade separated crossings. So we'll make almost complete Oak, 4th, and Gordon before we start work on Crestwood, Nichols, and Antelope. We can go, thank you. And I think that's the big part of it.
So as you can see, this first year has really been about getting the work done at the interchanges, the 3 interchanges we've been working on, but also getting the utilities relocated. The one number I didn't see in this list is we had about 150 miles of utilities to relocate along the corridor. Now this section is only about 9 miles long. So if you think about that, you've got them running up and down 15 times or more just in utilities, whether it's water, sewer, fiber, power. We've got them all up here. We have to work around all of them. And for us to really get in and do the work that we need to do, it's been a pretty monumental effort. And we've had to coordinate with different federal agencies as well as different districts like the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. And so once we get those out of the way, we can really start to pick up some speed and get the relocations done. And as all of this work gets complete and gets moving forward, we do have other areas that we've had quite a few questions about. One is the I-84 US 89 interchange and what that's going to look like in the future. And the Region 1 office has done some studies looking at long-term and short-term solutions, and they're kind of pass that information on to senior leaders to let them be able to go in and make decisions. We have been working very closely with the county as well. I'm sure you drive by the golf course and you see the detention pond that's gone in that area. And we spent quite a bit of time working with the county and working with the golf course to figure out what was the right solution for that location. We had a different design when we started out, and after some coordination, it took us about 6 or 7 months to work through what that design really should look like and how it best suits the golf course operations as well as UDOT's needs and Fruit Heights City's needs. And we've come up with a solution, but now we have to go back in and get all the legal documents put together and get those all assembled so we can actually go out and acquire the property from the county. And, we're really, really grateful for the working relationship that we have and the trust that we have between each other, because the county was willing to sign a permit to allow us to get in and do the work so we can get the work done when it's beneficial for the golf course and the contractor, and still have to come back in and get all the I's dotted and T's crossed. And so I think it's been a very beneficial relationship that we've had so far. And I will open it up. If there's any questions that the group has, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Sure. Part of the situation with the golf course area of Fruit Heights City was the water situation that we had with the well that's over on the Fruit Heights side. And there was an agreement a number of years ago between the county and Fruit Heights in supplying water to that. Is there a way that the county, I know Fruit Heights is talking about drilling another well. Is there any way from what you can see that the county can work with UDOT and Fruit Heights City to basically continue to utilize that water for irrigation?
Yes, and so and I don't want to speak for Brandon Green or Mayor Pullman, they're not here right now, but we have had quite a few conversations with them, and kind of what we're trying to do from a planning output is we want to keep that well in effect in place until the Hates Creek irrigation is turned on this summer. We are rerouting the Hayes Creek irrigation lines, and we are also putting in some water lines with Fruit Heights City. And in the conversations with the city that we've had, we're looking at a solution to be able to tie in to the city water source right there that is outside of the well location. So that kind of takes the drilling of that new well off the critical path. We'll be able to get some water to the golf course in the fall from an additional source.
One of the things, I think as far as Davis County is concerned, you know, we are known for having some fairly nice golf courses.
It's a great golf courses.
In this process, over the past few years, we've lost, in a sense, our flow of water, which basically keeps the waterways, the ponds in that whole. Is there anything that you guys can look at in this process with what you're doing to see that if we can try to get that water? And I know it's the first time I talked to you.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out which water you're talking about.
Well, basically what flows into, they've had an agreement sometime in the past, and we're looking into it to find out exactly what it was, but there was water that basically ran onto the golf course that fed the ponds and the little creeks that they have, taking the water from one pond to the other. Right now, I think almost all the ponds are dry because we kind of lost our source. And I don't know what it is, but while we have everything torn up and we're looking at things, that might be something.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we could look at and see if it's, if it's a source that's off-site and it's outside of the project's control or outside of the project impact. There's really not a lot that we can do about it. But if there's something that we can do to accommodate it through construction, whether it's putting in, some cross pipes, some culverts, some things like that, I think there's a potential for some options if the water is getting to the road and needing to cross the road.
Another question I have, your costs, how have your costs been coming?
We're still in that evaluation process. We've had a couple of different delays related to some outside agencies that we're trying to work around, as well as this COVID-19 has had some impacts on our schedules. We've had to reallocate work, shift some workflows around. And so right now we have had some budget increases, but how they affect the overall project cost and long-term budget, we're about 30% complete. And so we really need to be about that 60% to have that number really nailed down.
I'll ask another one. On the I-84 situation, you and I talked the other day a little bit about ways in a sense. Can you talk a little bit more about that as far as some of the thinking? Nothing's been approved, nothing's been.
Yeah, and so that interchange is a very complex interchange. If you look at like a system-to-system interchange like we have down at I-80 and I-15 in Salt Lake, the Spaghetti Bowl, to have a fully functioning interchange, it's a pretty complex solution. And when you add in South Weber and Uinta right there as well, it really makes it a pretty complicated solution. So what we're doing, or what the region done is, and this is my understanding, what the regions did is they looked at a couple different alternatives. They looked at a short-term solution to help with the traffic flows, and that could be putting in a different type of interchange, like a spooey or a diverging diamond, or just a different type of interchange. And then they're also looking at a long-term solution as well. And what we want to do is we want to be able to make sure that whatever we do now is compatible in the future as well. So we're not spending money now and then having to replace it in the future. And so they've done the studies and the analysis. I haven't dug too deep into those details.
And again, part of the problem we have is at some point in time, 89 has to end.
Yes.
Which realistically, what this would do is move the traffic further up the hill when you get into South Hog.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to where's that first stoplight at, and that's part of the internal discussions they're having with the department. Yes.
What are the options with the railroad crossing?
I haven't dug too far into the details. I know I used to design structures, and I know that they're a very unique challenge. We have to keep those railroad lines up and functioning, and so that just adds additional complications to that problem. Are there any other questions?
Did you say when you anticipate being all the way?
So right now we're looking at having construction complete in August of 2023, which seems like for a normal construction job, it seems a little bit longer than normal. But when we were looking at the cost analysis for the project itself, we can pay acceleration costs, which means the contractor's there 24/7, or we can pay inflationary costs, which basically the contractor takes more time, but the cost of money goes up over time. And what we tried to do is try to find that sweet spot between when we get the money from our cash flow, as well as trying to pay the appropriate amount, not paying too much in inflation or paying too much for acceleration. So that's where that 2023 number is. And then once the decision was made to take the overpasses or the bridge crossing locations, take 89 under the cross streets instead of over the cross streets, that really complicated the construction as well. It increased the phasing quite a bit.
So, Brian, as far as surprises, things that have taken place, man, that really caught us off guard. Are there things that exist like that you've seen?
Every day. Every day. No, I'll say this, the biggest surprise is the rocks. There's some Volkswagen rocks out there that I would have never expected. I would have also never expected the Facebook community to create a Facebook for Save the Rock. But as far as the challenges on the project, being brought on early, we vetted a lot of different challenges, and with our team from design still in place on construction, the projects moved very, very smoothly despite earthquake, COVID, easements from outside entities. We're still on schedule. We had submitted that schedule almost 2 years ago. And so to date, we're still on that and hoping to beat it. So yeah, I think there's been challenges every day, but nothing that's stopped us.
Mike, on the sound walls, where all are the sound walls going to be ran?
Oh, I don't have a map in front of me. I apologize for not having the map. So we did go out. We did, I think was there 10 or 11 sound walls that qualified? There was 12. We had 12 sound walls that qualified. We went out with the balloting on all the sound walls, and we had a pretty positive response to the sound wall installation. I think the overall vote was right around 70 to 75%. And I'm going from memory here, so I'm not guaranteeing that number is correct or not, but it was a really, really high vote in favor of the installation of the sound walls.
So will there be a sound wall that runs in front of the golf course?
I can't remember if there's one at that location or not.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, and
My gut's telling me no, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember, Bob, off the top of my head. I apologize.
So there's a piece of legislation running this year about the billboards, and so I had someone ask me about what we know about billboards on 89 into the future, yes or no, or what do we know? And actually also the West Davis corridor, asking about that too, the continuation.
Yeah, so I can't speak to the West Davis corridor. I do know the majority of Highway 89 is zoned as residential. And based on the current legislation in place, the installation of sound walls or billboards is not permitted in residential areas. Now, there is one billboard along the corridor that we do have to relocate, and we've been working with Layton City on finding a new location for that. But I really can't speak to what future legislation is coming up or anything like that. I just know in the past, it was not allowed in residential areas.
Is that the billboard down there by that box culvert we've been working on, the one that fell down?
No, that one's South Weber. This one is just south of the Grounds for Coffee and where the two gas stations used to be.
Yeah. Let's not put that one that fell down back up.
That's outside of my control.
What about as far as tearing out any more structures? Is the old, speaking of Grounds for Coffee, I believe that stays. What about the old gas station?
So the old gas station, the building is staying, the tanks have been removed, and that property will be surplus through UDOT's surplus property process.
Will the Grounds for Coffee still be there then?
Yes, the Grounds for Coffee is staying as well.
And they're going to approve Valley View Drive.
Oh yeah, there's going to be an improvement at the trailhead for Adams Canyon too.
Yes, we have worked with Layton City about some improvements for the trailhead. We put a parking right in for UTA on the west side of the frontage road up on the east side. And then we also have a parking lot on the east side for the trailhead. And between the two parking lots combined, we have about 150 parking stalls to accommodate. And kind of the thought process behind that is during the week, the UTA lot will be pretty full and the majority of the cars will be there. Then on the weekends, the ones using the trailhead can overflow into the park and ride if necessary and try to keep them off the street.
You mentioned earlier, I believe, about a crossing, pedestrian crossing.
Mhm.
How many areas will have crossings?
So all of our structure locations have sidewalks in them, whether it's a 6-foot sidewalk on each side or a 10-foot sidewalk on one side. So there's 4 crossing locations, right? There are actually 6 at the different locations. We'll have a bridge at Nichols Road. We'll have a bridge at 4th North. We'll have a bridge at Oak Hills, at Gordon and Antelope. They'll all have sidewalks. And then we have a pedestrian culvert going in at Bear Creek. And part of that is, as Brian mentioned, we slip lined the existing culvert that was in place. And that came out of some innovation working with the contractor. Originally, we were going to tear out the existing box culvert and replace it with something bigger to accommodate foot traffic as well. And through some cost evaluation, some innovation, we came up with a different solution because that's about 45, 50 feet deep below the top of the roadway surface. And so if you have to go dig a hole to get that box out and put a new one in, it's a really big hole and a lot of material that we have to remove and replace. So we slip lined it. We're keeping that pipe in place, and it meets all the hydraulic capacities. And then up higher, we're building a smaller box culvert to accommodate pedestrian traffic. And this is working with Fruit Heights City and their master plan for a trail system. And in doing that, we're able to save money because we're not digging such a deep hole. We took that savings and put a different box culvert in and still had an overall cost savings on the job.
And then Layton.
Oh, and so there's that one. Then we've been working with Layton City about trying to put one in right by where Valley View kind of ties into Highway 89 on the north end of Valley View before it goes up to that neighborhood by 193. So there's 2 pedestrian crossings and we have the 6 structure locations.
Is Bear Creek the one, like the Gailey Trail at Nichols Park, is that the creek running?
Yeah, that's Bear Creek. Uh-huh.
And so we will be able to then go under the new freeway and get to the other side and access trail over there.
Yeah, and I know that's something that Fruit Heights City is working on, and we're working with the city as well as about a little pocket park on the east side right there as part of our 6F conversions for Nichols Park.
And then cycling trails, tell us about those.
So cycling, thank you. That's something close to my heart, actually. So with the completion of Highway 89 and getting that done is we want to get cyclists off of Highway 89 itself. And so we've been working with the different municipalities to put in a bicycle route on the east side frontage road. So at Cherry Hill, you'd be able to hop on the old mountain road, ride that all the way up to kind of where it ties into 400 North now. And then you'll have a new frontage road that will take you all the way up to 193. And it takes advantage of some of the existing roads in there, like Valley View Drive. That's an existing road. We're not going in and replacing that. And then we will provide a multi-use path from 193 down to South Weber Drive, or that frontage road on the east side of 89 by South Weber Drive. So you'll be able to get from Cherry Hill all the way to South Weber, and you will not have to get on Highway 89.
That's fantastic. I've cycled 89.
Mm-hmm. No, I've cycled it too, and it's, sometimes the cars are going really, really fast and they get really, really close. And so if we can get people off and give them a safe corridor with a lot lower traffic, I think it'll be a really nice solution.
So are you still, I know one time you talked about how many tons of fill that you would be using and you were taking down to stockpile for West Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Does that work down with
So I'm not sure if we're on schedule for that or not. I can let Brian speak to that, but I think we ended up moving 750,000 cubic yards of material from Highway 89 out to the West Davis corridor. That's the planned amount. And I'm not sure how much of that we've moved out there yet or not.
Only about 20,000.
So we've moved about 20,000. And we worked with that contract team to make sure that they're able to spell out in their contract documents when that material will be available based on our construction schedule.
And you've always been so accessible with questions that come up. And there was our director of golf courses at Valley View, who has always been concerned, sees the deer that get killed, and I think. you said
I'm
that,
sorry, I missed part of that.
There's always a history of the deer that.
Yes,
that
yes.
you have sadly get hit. I think you have said there will be some things in this project that will help with the wildlife crossing.
Yeah, and so as part of the project, we coordinated pretty heavy with the Division of Wildlife Resources and whether wildlife crossings were needed along this corridor or not. And based on their guidance, we decided not to put wildlife crossings in, but we're putting wildlife fencing up to try to keep them off the corridor. Because when we talked to them, part of their concern was once they get on the west side, there's really not the nesting habitat that they used to have out on the west side. It's been developed as homes, it's neighborhoods, it's residential, and there's really not an area for them to go. And they were concerned they could become nuisance animals once they got on the west side of 89. And so we're putting up the fencing to keep them off of the roadway.
Is that just some taller, something all along?
It's along the entire corridor. There's a good example of it. We have some on the west side of the 400 North interchange, on the northwest corner of the 400 North interchange. Some's been installed already.
That's great.
You may not step out of that back to West Davis. When will the initial construction start with West Davis? Are we familiar with that?
I don't have any idea.
There's a different project manager.
It is. That is Rex Harris is the project director for the West Davis corridor.
Yes, we have questions about that one too.
Okay, if there's no more questions, Ryan, we appreciate you guys coming in. It's good. Maybe another 6 or 8 months, we'll have you come back and update us. I know you've told us that if we want to come go for a little drive about, we can contact your office and you can help us on that. But we're grateful for you taking the time to come in here and put this presentation together and help us as far as it goes. Hopefully, any of the cities or anyone else that's online, it's helped them also as far as probably a lot more questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do thank you for your efforts and everything you're doing. So.
Thank you for taking all of the input and the feedback. That's been a really big part of this project.
It has. We actually have the largest Facebook group in the state.
Wow.
As part of the 89 corridor project, and they're a very, very active community, and they're fun to deal with, and we get questions from them on a daily basis. We have a fantastic PI group that manages that and manages that effort, and so it's actually worked out really, really well.
That's great.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. With that, that'll bring us to a conclusion of our work meeting today. For any of those that are out there online, if you do have questions that we weren't able to answer, you can contact Mike Romero at UDOT and they'll get back to you with your questions. So with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned at this time. Thank you again. Appreciate everyone.